Hey guys, how y'all doing? My name is Kieran, and this is Fox Off RPG. So today we're going to be having a look at a really cool game. It is not only a game, but it's also an add-on to any OSR system, or, well, it's actually more appropriate to say, you can add any OSR or adventure or system into this. It's called Mobile Task Force, and obviously here you see it's called Mobile Task Force Manual. I'm going to be going over basically what this is. It was sent to me by the creator, Tetra the artist. You can see here. It's going to leave a link to their itch. I'm also going to leave all their links in the description and the pinned comment. So just before we get into the video, I just want to say thank you again for everyone for checking out my videos. We just hit over 400 subscribers, which is absolutely crazy. I only started uploading in February the 26th of this year, so that's insane. So thank you all. Yeah, so I'm going to leave my X page. You can follow me there if you wish, Discord, and my drive-thru affiliate link. So let's get into the video. So basically, this game is essentially a modern day setting slash, well, not setting, like a modern day OSR game where you can plug adventures into it. I tested this by running it with Barrow Maze, and it worked great. So we'll go over this. It's 46 pages. It's quite short, but everything's well laid out. It all makes sense. There's nothing complicated about it, but it's still lots of fun, which is what we want. And it's going to talk about here what you need to play. It's going to need some dice. It's going to name the dice as the usual, D4 to D20. There's some paper, pens, all that stuff, and I have some terms here like anomalies, things that don't follow the rules of reality. So that could be like magic stuff. That could be creatures. So, for example, an undead. It has like tabletop role playing game, SCP, secure, contain, protect. So basically, these are another thing for anomalies, but it also could be things you could do on a mission. Groups of interest, objective classes. It's basically how dangerous something can be, or how easy it is, or how difficult it is to access. A task force is basically your operators. The mission, what you're doing when you're going out. And non-player characters, monsters, OSR, and yeah, gives a list of some OSR stuff like Labyrinth Lord, BX, D&D, Old School Essentials, Black Hack, Osric, and so on. Now it does have very simple, very straightforward creation rules, but there's one thing I would do. Page 13. It's 13, yeah, page 13 here, right? This is what you're going to be rolling on. It's going to be your muscle, agility, stamina, knowledge, procedure, and spirit. So basically, muscle is strength, agility is dexterity, stamina is constitution, knowledge is intelligence, procedure is wisdom, and spirit is charisma. I would move this up to either page 6 or 7. That's the only change I'd make. So yeah, how to create an operator. You're going to roll 3d6 for each ability, and then you're going to add the lowest dice. That's going to be your bonus modifier, and then add 10 to that, and that's going to be your defense for each ability. So your actual abilities will be higher than probably normal games. So you're going to have at least 11 for your defenses. Item slots are going to be based on stamina. So the minimum you're going to have is, again, 11, which is fine. Which is good, I mean. So then you have armor. So when you are not wearing armor, you have armor class 7 or 11. I mean, every point after that is just increasing your armor class. So how you get gear and equipment is straightforward. You start off with 10 plus 1 for each level. So if you decide you want to start off at level 3 and just have a bit more of a bigger adventure, there you go. You have 13. But most people are going to start on level 1, so you're going to start off with 11. So that's just something to keep in mind, and you can see how this is going to work out. So for example, let's say we have half swarm play. That takes up 4 slots. But let's say our stamina is 11. That's 4 11 taken just on basic armor. Do you want to take a helmet? Okay, that's another 1 slot. Okay, what kind of gun do you want? Okay, we'll just take the assault rifle. Well, that's another 3. And then you have your tools, like stuff you're going to put on your weapons. Other you can have grenades, extra ammo. You're going to need extra ammo, but you also need melee weapons. So you're really gonna have to be careful on what you pick and how you pick it. And again, like the type of like damage it does and how it does it, the ability to hit you're going to use, it's all here. All works really well. Again, I ran this, I tested Barrowmaze through this, and it does give advice of how to use more fantasy type games or adventures. And it's gonna assume that you're in a modern day, and if you want to do more fancy stuff, say you're out in the middle of the rural area somewhere. So I basically set up as Barrowmaze was in like an Eastern European middle of nowhere place, and that's how I ran it, and it worked really well. You have different tools and equipment, like we said, and you have other stuff in here like you can get. Again, the cost of everything is, it's just simple numbers. You're not doing, oh, you need 25 gold. No, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like credits, budget credits. So yeah, you have pretty much everything, because again, you has hand ties as well, so you know, maybe some of your missions will not always be about capturing things, or I mean killing things, could be about capturing. And then it has stuff for character traits. You can roll this off if you wish, or you could also have this as some sort of allies you could find along the way. And then we have playing the game, so mission brief and character creation. So basically talks about the director, it's basically the game master. They're the ones who are going to come up with everything. You're going to be, you're basically the game master. And it has exploration, and there's going to be exploration rules on this that work really well. You could also change them to other things if you wish, because it does roll a d20 to find out which hex is what. Or of course, if you're playing with a game that has everything predetermined, that has a map, you just use that obviously. Exploration, investigation is when the operators are exploring friendly human-run environments. Operators can choose to question the locals, purchase weapons, gear, and find out more about their surroundings. So again, when I was doing Barrowmaze, I would go off and it was in an Eastern European sort of middle of nowhere place, and the main town that's outside in the Barrowmaze setting, that's where I was using as my headquarters and get information. And there was a setup of the company there basically. Infiltration is basically describes characters going to containment areas, typically indoors, that might include anomalies, hostile forces. Space is normally measured in 5 or 10 feet square. So again, Barrowmaze was perfect for this. Downtime, basically you're gonna unwind, chill out, and you can also, if you do level up, you can use your time downtime to level up. Again, this is your ability scores and stuff like that. I would have this moved, like I said, to page 6 or 7, but that's it. And combat rules. In initiative, you roll 2d6, and then go clockwise from there. So if enemies have the higher score, they go, and then your players will go. Talks about rounds, actions. This is basically normal OSR stuff, but then it also has dashing, so it's basically a double run, a double movement. And you're attacking, you're going to be rolling d10, d20, and you're going to add your ability to hit. So if you have an ability to hit a 2, you're going to roll your dice, and if you need say 12 for example, and you roll a 10, there you go, perfect. And it talks about ranges, near, far, melee, near, far, and distant. So you can either use like the Shadowdark approach of this is roughly where things are and you have an idea, or you can do it in feet and it gives a rough idea of what feet are. And surprise, it's going to be the same sort of surprise rules that you're used to. Roll 2d6 and you can find out who is surprised, if you're surprised or not, or if you're both surprised. And it has some combat rules, some other stuff here. So you can do a stunt. So in place of attacking an operator, you can choose to perform a stunt. A stunt is an action using one of the operator's 6 ability scores. This does not directly cause damage. This would be something like diving over a small gap, stealing an item from a creature, disarming a combatant. All these actions can cause non-damage, but then they could cause damage as a result of performing the action. So example, pushing someone off a cliff. Again, you're using your ability scores to do things in a game, which is consistent with every OSR game. Other things you can do is obviously reload your gun. You can use a burst weapon, which essentially is going to fire in burst. So essentially you're getting more or less a double attack with it. You have cover, you can take behind cover. advantage, disadvantage. When rolling d20, you will roll the result twice and pick the highest result. Basically roll 2d20, and if you have advantage, you take the highest. If you have disadvantage, you take the lowest. Critical successes, again d20, or if you roll a 20 on a d20, you have a critical success and you roll double damage. Critical failure, if you roll ones, things do not work out well, so you can have things go terribly wrong, and that can be like it has here, if an item reaches 0 in quality, it's destroyed beyond repair. So you can have your weapons get damaged and stuff like that, or you just drop your weapon. Maybe you accidentally hit the magazine release button if you have your firearm, so that can be a disaster, and then you have to spend the next round basically reloading your weapon. It talks about bleed out. Once you hit 0, you start to bleed out. Then after you have 4 rounds to basically be stabilized. And it talks about he used medkit to gain 1 HP. Has all there. It's pretty straightforward. It's simple, but again, it's going to give the flavor and fun that we all need and love. Death. If an operator ever takes double their maximum hit points damage, or they reach the end of their last turn while in the bleed out phase, they are dead with no hope of revival. So here you go. Drowning, suffocation. It gives a simple rules for that. I actually didn't need to use these, but they're there, which is like this person is covering everything, which is great. Falling damage, and you're going to take 1d6 bludgeoning damage for every 10 feet fallen. So basically, if you fall from 10 feet, you're going to be okay. But if you go anything beyond 10 feet, you're going to take a d6, and for every 10 feet beyond that, you'll take another d6. So if you drop 30 feet, you're going to be taking 3d6 damage. You might just get all 1s, or you might get all 6s, you know. So, and it talks about radioactivity. So when you're taking radioactive damage, you temporarily reduce your hit points by half the damage you receive. On a long rest, you get 1d4 of your lost max hit points. And it talks about common status effects: blinding, deafening, stunning, asleep, poisoned, disease. These are pretty much normal to any OSR game. And loyalty. When you're creating a character, you have basically 0 loyalty at the beginning, but when you complete missions and do stuff in the world, you will be gaining more. Corruption. You're going to obviously get corruption by killing civilians, accepting bribes, withholding evidence for personal gain, and so on and so forth. Stuff like that. And there are groups within this you can add into the games, or you can create your own to make it make sense within your adventure. So I used Barrow Maze. I could use maybe one of the groups within the Barrow Maze dungeon as like a negative group in there that we could use, or you just plug in one of the other ones that they have created down here. Or again, within the town and city, or the town of Barrow Maze, I basically had one of the company guys there. He was my go-to guy to get gear and equipment, and I used that as a way to turn in evidence and anomaly sort of equipment. Beg, steal, borrow. Reaching maximum corruption. If the operator ever reaches -5 loyalty, they too become a corrupt as a player. The character is now an anonymous faction NPC, now under the control of the director. So basically you become corrupt, and you essentially turn to the director's side. You basically become a pawn of the GM, which is cool. And here we go, talk about awarding XP and training. So at the end of the adventure, or when you're turning in, or you complete your quest, operators are awarded with experience equally. They should not get more than 3 per session. Things directors might award XP for. So sufficient evidence found, perilous combat. So basically, if you essentially think of like a fighter, they try to hold off the group while everyone runs away, or if you had a very intense combat. Completing your objective, task force member died in combat. And you're like, when I was testing this with Barrow Maze, again, I would say, okay, we're going to go off, look for this barrow. We're going to test, see what's there, see what we find. We heard those rumors, and we went across them. And yeah, I'd give it 1 XP for each barrow that was complete, and then we went actually into the dungeon itself, and I'd kind of sort of arbitrarily choose how much XP would be earned when they were returned. I'd also have like the golden gear from Barrow Maze. I just had that come back, and I'd have that as interest to the company, to the task force, and I'd sort of decide how much XP or credits they should get in return for it. Leveling up here, I lost where I was. So leveling up, directors need to get 10, operators need to get 10 XP to level up. After level 5, it goes up to 15. So pretty straightforward and simple. It talks about, again, more, each time you level up, you're going to roll a d6, a d8 I mean. So I also meant to ask in the character creation, you're going to roll a d8, but you have anything less than 4, you can roll again. So you have between 4 and 8 hit points. Special training. So the special training, this can be done once you level up, and you can attempt to train in one special type of training. There isn't really an exact thing for this. It's kind of left up to the game director to figure out what it is and work with the player. How I done this would be through using like some magic essentially, or other things that I think would be cool. Like maybe these are all once per day things as well. So you know, you could do one type of spell once per day, or maybe you can do a melee attack twice once per day, but it only counting as one attack. So you're not using up any of your you're basically not taking a double turn. Containment, basically it's figuring out containment sites, where it is, what it is, how much it's worth. Like again, we talked about earlier about how difficult and hard something is, or how easy it is. And again, running just through Barrow Maze, if I came across like a really tough enemy, that's going to be a more difficult outcome to do. Think of this part as sort of Ghostbusters. I think that's probably the best way to think of it. You're trying to basically capture a contained area. You might have to try and kill something. So it's really going to be up to the director and how they want to do this. And it talks about running the game as a director. Like basically, this is a simple information that if you played any RPG, you're gonna essentially know. So you're going to prepare anomalous creatures, create NPCs to interact with, create a location to infiltrate. Of course, you can just, like I said, you can just plug in any OSR type event you're in, no problem. Just change where things are. Maybe change some of the weapons that NPCs might have. Or maybe a lot of NPCs just have melee weapons. You just change them a little bit. Or you don't have to change them all. Still do similar amounts of damage. So it all works out pretty damn well. Create a region to explore. Again, if you already have a map you're exploring, you use that. If you do not, there is rules in this for creation, but I do think they're a little too broad, to be honest. Again, you're rolling a d20, so you can get anywhere from like you can get Arctic and Forest right beside each other. So again, one of my favorite ways of using hex map creation stuff is the AD&D procedure, or the OD&D procedure actually. They're very similar. So yeah, but you can use this one as well. It's perfectly fine. We'll come across it now in a minute. Talk about facilitating combat, make the stories about the operators. So yeah, it's pretty normal, straightforward things in the game. But it does have debriefing. So once you complete your quest or mission, depending how big or small it is, you then need to debrief, and that's when you're going to be awarding players XP. Talks about difficulty checks, ability checks. So like F5, you're going to need, it's basically, why even bother checking? All the way up to a 30 on it. Like, you need a miracle to pass that. Basically, you need to have a D20 success plus like a very big bonus. So yeah, it's pretty normal here, and it's all laid out in very simple plain English, which is awesome. It talks about infiltration rules. You can break glass windows. shoot through tin doors and walls, metal, stone walls, and ricochets. A critical failure when fire a gun towards a metal or stone surface may cause the bullet to ricochet towards the user, causing the damage, or potentially another player. It talks about breaching, hostages. So yeah, you can just... One of the things you could also do with this is, again, just take an OSR type creature set, because there are creatures in this, but it's not a ton of them. Come up with some cool ideas and just create a game. You can basically create a SWAT game, a SWAT type adventure in a more fantastical world. So you could have, like, again, you have undead, you could have liches, you could have orcs, goblins, anything you want. And say they take over like a mall in a rural village. You know, that could be fun. So there's lots of things you can do. Again, you probably just want to get an OSR bestiary, and there you go. Or just use any adventure you want. Talk about stacking up against breaching walls and doors and stuff like that. Loud firearms. Obviously, the louder it is, the more you're gonna attract. So if you keep firing, you're gonna have more enemies coming towards you or hear you, so where they can set up an ambush for you. Infiltration settings, it talks about here, you want to roll every 10 minutes to add an element of interest. So basically this is similar to Wandering Monster encounters, but it's a little different. So you're going to have a hostile for number 1. If you roll 1, number 2, you're going to have signs. So you're going to have, okay, you can figure out the direction where creatures or enemies are or were. Civilian, you come across the civilian NPC, and you can determine if they're unfriendly, friendly, or neutral. It gives it here. 1 to 2 is unfriendly, 3 to 4 is neutral, and 5 to 6 is friendly. These could be maybe hostages ever taken. 4, something in the local environment has visibly changed. So maybe a door is being smashed open or shut, windows being smashed, objects are just out of place. And then a 5 to 6, nothing happens. It talks about the here following rules: the Veil, the Foundation, the SCP Foundation, and many other anomalous organizations. It mandates the general knowledge of any real. It denies that it mandates the general knowledge of any real anomalies should be strictly hid away from the public. So basically, it's cover up. And it talks about cover up stories, the type of stuff that might happen where you can come across like the biohazard cleanup. That's like the classic when you get in TV shows and movies, which is cool. And it talks about Foundation credits, like we talked about before. When you finish a mission, you can be awarded some of them with your XP, or if you pick up gear and items in your world that are of interest to you as a game director, is going to try and figure out how much they should be given in return. And then that can be used for the next mission to then go out. Like, you're going to have to get credits anyway because you're using up ammo. And one ammo is going to take up 1 slot and cost 1 credit. That's going to be extra ammo. And talks about more stuff here you can get. Rations, accommodation, small tools. This is again going back up to your tables. Talks about stuff you can do with downtime, interacting with civilians, carousing, playing out vices. So maybe you want to be a gambler, you can gamble. Experiments and interviews. And it's going to give you carousing table here and stuff you can do. It has traveling orders and travel each day. So you're going to wake up the team, roll on the weather table, have a ration, tear down your camp, lock up your safe house, or leave the site. Explore and adventure for up to 16 hours a day. Set up the camp, or go back to the safe house, rest for 8 hours. So that's basically how the game loop works. So you wake up, roll rather, eat, tear down camp, explore and adventure, come back or set up camp again. Camps, foundation, permanent sites, undiscovered locations, which could be what appears to be run down house, but then you get inside, there's like a secret metal room. And it talks about hex location, hex travels. Each hex is 6 miles by default in this. Blah, blah, blah. And here's what I was talking about here, the wilderness stuff. So like I said, it is a very big and wide difference between them. Maybe you want that if you're having a more weird and crazy place. Maybe there's an anomaly going on that's causing the warp of the entire area, because you could go from salt flats to a mountain lake to frozen glacier, all in different hexes. So if you're doing this on the fly, you maybe don't want to use this table, but you could use other tables. So that's one other thing. Again, besides just changing where one thing was on a page, I would either rework this or have it as, you know, something happened to the area and everything's all messed up. Just because it is a wide swing and the type of ground you're going to come across. Because again, if you are traveling, say, from forests, you're more likely to come across another forest or like a plains or hills than you would an Arctic glacier. But that's really it. Exploration rules. Weather tables. So you just roll a d10 and you get 10 different options, and one for each time of the year. So summer, spring, summer, fall, and winter. It talks about some vehicles here. Objects may cover long distance quickly. They can make use of any type of vehicle that is nearby. Sealing, attempting to hotwire vehicles can be difficult and may lead to loyalty penalties. Now it does have stuff here like for traveling, how far you can go with things. So you have on horse, on foot, horse, automobile, patrol, motorboat, helicopter, armor tank, and jet plane. It talks about ascending versus descending AC. So basically it covers how you can change that over. Health and hit dice. Again, more normal stuff here. Weapons, spells and powers. Like we said, you can find and cast spells. I had that done through special training. You're going to have to come up with your own stuff with that. I think it's fairly easy. Again, like I said, you could have one of the guys basically become expert combatant, hand-to-hand combat, and he could hack with a melee weapon twice in one turn, but that's a once daily thing as well. Fantasy locations. So have a unique dungeon or fairy tale castle you would like to investigate as part of your MTF game. Pick a place in a modern random day Earth, maybe set in a rural village or a rural area that might match the fantasy location. So example, a vampire's ice fortress deep in the Russian tundra. That sounds cool. That does sound cool. And utilizing treasures. And creating mission locations. So again, you're going to be creating here's the tables for creating a mission. So find a mission task force, emergency response, murder investigation, protect the safe house, abstract locations, and it has power plant, military base, shopping mall, airport terminal. It's pretty cool. So again, like I said, this isn't an add-on for games. You add stuff into this, or you just use this by itself, which is really cool. So you're getting multiple ways of using this, but I think it's great. And it talks about creating anomalous creatures, so you can create your own monsters in here if you wish. You can just convert them over pretty straightforward and easy. They're pretty much matches up. Any OSR stuff matches up perfectly with this. But it does have stuff here for descriptors. Pick one or two for behavior and what they would have. If you're a liquid creature, they're intangible, they're insect, humanoid, hive mind, they're a ghost, they're a cadaver. So this is basically a descriptor of what they are. And then you have budget points to spend on a creature. So you're going to create a creature, you're going to spend some of your budget points that you will have to do so, and you spend them on that. And it's going to basically increase your AC, aka +3 bonus to a single stat, and a -3 for 2 others. So you can have specializations within the same group. And power tags, basically different type of quirks and abilities that these creatures might have. And there's a good list of them. Reanimation, hallucination, knowledge, and it's going to have different effects from what they are and what they do, which I think is awesome. And here is the groups of interest. We talked about it a little bit and hinted at it. There are a ton of them here. You can plug these into your games. Again, if you're running any OSR adventure, you can plug them in, or you can just sort of create your own. And these could be ongoing groups. Some of them are friendly, some of them are neutral, some of them are hostile to you. You can have competing sort of task force groups. Maybe one's hired by a different company or country, so that'd be cool. And maybe you have to fight them at some stage. And yeah, and it has a couple monsters here. There you go. And there's some black ones here. I know this is being constantly worked on, which is really cool. Again, this is free. Again, so I think the creator needs to, Tetra needs to, from this point onwards, don't have it free. Maybe have like newer versions of the game, any updates to do to it. Have it for like even just $2-3 bucks. I would also suggest they add it to ttrpg. That's just me, because you're going to reach a much bigger audience. Just it naturally being there, more people are more likely to come across it. Which is good, but doesn't have a huge reach. And I know this from creators telling me it's good, but it doesn't have huge reach. And it has gadgets and special weapons. These are stuff you can get as well. Again, I would put this up with the gear. Just makes more sense. And helps with the appendix here. So inspiration resources. So video games like Metro series, brilliant. Ready or Not, very good. Besides the censorship they're doing right now. Metal Gear Solid series, excellent. Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill series is great. Fear is pretty good. I haven't played that in a long time. I talked about movies and TV shows. So Fringe, X-Files, I love them. And Metro books, I love them. And a bunch of RPG games. So also Essentials. Scum and Funny, and I said Scum of Money, Scum Funny, Index Cards, and Knave. So yeah, this is it. So I think you guys probably like this. It's really cool, it's really fun. Again, I was sent this for free, but it is free anyway. So yeah, this has been Mobile Task Force, and this is the field manual. So again, remember guys, this is an OSR type game, so you can plug in any adventures you want and you run it through this, or you can just play this completely self-contained by itself. Again, I would add some extra OSR type monsters or creatures from any old school type game. That's about the only major change I would do in terms of gameplay, just to have a bigger selection, because there is a selection. It's not huge, but this is awesome. Check it out. If you like it, you let me know. And that's it guys, thanks again for checking this out, and I shall talk to you all again soon in the next one.